A good contract is worth its weight in gold. Are you a creative entrepreneur who contracts your services to others? Well, listen up, because this is for you. The Smithers Law Group has created 14 master contracts specifically for creative entrepreneurs. These contracts are industry specific, they're fully customizable, and you only pay a one-time fee. This is so much better and more affordable than speaking with an attorney who's going to charge you an hourly consultation fee, and it's so much more secure than just Googling up your contract and hoping for the best. Find your fully customizable and industry-specific contract at stulawgroup.com. Search for the contract link. And don't forget to tell them that I sent you.
COVID gave me the clarity and the perspective I did not know I needed. I was laying up in bed for weeks. So it was kind of a blessing and a curse, a blessing and a lesson. So I want Black men to know, I want all men to know that it's okay to put yourself and to put your health first, even if that means taking a step back, having to cut back, take an extra day off or two a month, because you don't want to bring that calamity to the workforce and it costs you your job.
Repeat after me. I bring more than diversity. I bring irreplaceable perspectives. Hey friends, my name is Whitney, and I'm the host of Impostrix Podcast, the show that validates professionals of color navigating imposter syndrome and racial toxicity in their career. Join us and be validated. You got this. Welcome back to Impostrix Podcast. My name is Whitney Lee. I'm your host, and I am here today with Brock Williams. And we are going to be talking about mental health, taking care of our mental health, navigating mental health, and the tools that we use to take care of ourselves and also to, share our tools, our resources, our mind with other people. Brock Williams is a writer, a mental health advocate, and has a wealth of experience in this field. And so, Brock, can you introduce yourself to us?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, thank you for having me today. I really appreciate it. My name is Brock Williams. I'm a mental health advocate. I'm a poet. I'm an author. And I'm the proud owner of Millennia Expose. Millennia Expose is an artistic men's line, a brand for men of color trying to heal and overcome obstacles. I am born and raised in Orlando. I love it, but I will never move back. The traffic is bad and the crime is even worse. But I'm a proud civilian of Orlando, and I love it. I love what I do. I've been doing this for working in mental health and psych and correctional for going on 20 years, from adult psychiatric to pediatric to drug and alcohol detox to assisted living facilities and group homes. And it's my passion. And
I like how you say you're a civilian of Orlando.
yes.
What does that mean? You don't work at Disney? Is that what that means?
I don't work at Disney, but I'll visit anytime. Anytime.
I've taken my kids. I've had the luxury of taking my kids, and we went in the summer, and I swear to God, I burned up. It was close to death. We were all near death.
Fall is better. Always go in fall. Fall, winter, don't ever go in the summer. I'm telling you, the humidity in Florida can get up to 110, 115.
I felt it. I did feel it.
Yes.
Well, thank you. Thank you for joining us. As I mentioned, we are talking about mental health today. And so I would love to start if you could tell us about your own personal experience navigating mental health. As I understand it, you're someone with ADHD, bipolar, and depression, right?
You know what? ADHD, depression, anxiety, and I'm telling you, there are moments where I have some eccentricity where you're like, oh shoot, where did that come from? Absolutely. And it's something I dealt with my entire life. And let me just start by saying that being men of color, Black person, the news is very, very overly critical. And people of color have a different stigma out there. And I'll just stop right there. We are twice as likely to develop mental health disorders, three times as likely to develop addiction. And a poll came out recently that actually hit me kind of hard because having worked within mental health and psych, a poll came out recently that said 63% of men of color view getting help as weakness.
Mm.
And that had an effect on me because having worked in mental health for nearly 20 years, I found it to be true. Because when I was coming up, children were seen and not heard. And and as young men, we're taught and told from a very young age. Um, I'm just gonna go a little far for a minute.
Yeah.
Um, Wipe your nose, boy. I'm raising a man, not a boy.
Mm-hmm.
Real men don't cry.
Mm-hmm.
Go cry to your mama. I don't want to hear that. And we're taught this, and we're told from a very young age, and we take that from childhood into our teens, into our adulthood. And the worst part is we're told and taught to suppress, not express. And that bugged me growing up. That bugged me. So how can you heal if you don't know how you feel? And the worst part is as you get older, you suppress your emotions. You know, it takes a toll on you. And we're living in a day and age, this new generation is on some next level stuff. When you were taught and told to suppress yourself and told, people of color, don't get help. Oh, you'll be all right. Now listen, pray about it. You'll be all right. You'll be all right. Ain't nothing wrong with you. Listen, if you got a problem, go down the street. Go down the street, make a right, have the pastor put hands on you. And you know what? And that's fine. That's fine. But sometimes it takes more than that. So to someone who doesn't get help, who's unfamiliar with his character, his personality, and what he's dealing with, how do you heal properly and effectively if you don't know how you feel? And we carry that stigma into our adulthood. And then once we do decide to speak about certain afflictions, we're viewed as weak, we're viewed as punks, we're viewed as pussies, or you all up in your feelings. And because unfortunately, if a man with all this childhood trauma and affliction gets to his teen and adulthood, we are in relationships. Oh, talk to me. Why would you talk to me? We don't talk. And then once you express yourself, oh, I don't know. I didn't ask you to say all that. Nah. And then you're ridiculed for expressing yourself, for being a man. You'll be all right. A real man can handle it. And myself, when I was growing up, I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that. I grew up, kind of an emotional kid because I had all this pain and trauma and these afflictions, and no one was giving me any answers
Mm-hmm.
because we're taught and told not to get help or walk it off, be a man.
Hey, y'all. So let's switch gears for just a minute. We talk so much about empowerment of folks of color on this show. And now I want to take a second to talk about our legacy. It's so important that as we're out here doing our thing and making that money and trying to be the people that we want to be for our communities and families, that we get our estate plan together. And I know estate planning can be overwhelming. We've got your back. Our team is here to guide you every step of the way. Wills for the People is an estate planning practice that prioritizes creating and advancing generational wealth, particularly within families of color and middle-class families. This is because it's so important that we just get started. So, what do you want your legacy to be? And what steps have you taken to ensure that that happens? Take those steps with Wills for the People, where intentional planning meets transformative results. Visit our website for your free consultation at willsforthepeoplega.com. Mention Impostrix Podcast and we'll give you 10% off of your package. All right, I'll see you over there. Let's get back to the what you're saying really resonates with me. One, because I'm raising two Black sons right now with my Black husband, Southern Black husband.
Mm.
And two, because I think we talk a lot about how men treat each other, how fathers treat sons, and how fathers raise sons. But we don't talk enough about how everybody who loves men perpetuate the stigma of, having mental health issues as being a weakness or of showing emotion of being weakness. And it's since becoming a mother, one of the things that I'm thinking about frequently since I have young kids who are constantly crying and constantly screaming and constantly having temper tantrums and showing their emotions. And how do I navigate between wanting to keep my sons safe and alive
Mhm.
and to be perceived as not a threat for as long as possible, but also prepare them for this world that is hard on them, that is expecting men and Black men to act a certain way, to be a certain way, and that will prey on Black men for perceived weakness, because this world doesn't yet acknowledge the strength in a man knowing his feelings, a man knowing how to communicate his feelings and how to process his feelings. And so when you were talking, that's what that reminded me of, was just how myself as a Black woman, like how do I perpetuate the this myth, this reality that Black men are experiencing, where they're not allowed to show up in their fullness because of our societal standards and norms around um, Black men and not showing emotion. So I'm glad to be talking about this today because I think it's real easy for us to sit back and say, "Oh yeah, man, black men should be able to cry and Black men should be able to do this, that, and the other thing." But I think when we start to ask ourselves, okay, well, have I actually created a space where my Black male loved one, whether that's a brother, whether that's a coworker, whether that's a father, a spouse, or just a friend, like have I created a space where this person feels like they can come?
Correct. You're so correct. And if young boys don't feel like they can cross that boundary, they're going to shut down. They're going to shut down. They're going to suppress.
The numbers that you quoted around, I think you said 63% of, was it Black men who think that other
Correct.
Black men are weak if
Yeah,
they have, okay.
60% of Black men view mental health and view getting help as a weakness. And that number just hit me because, you know what? Unfortunately, it is true. So at the same time, too, we're taught to suppress our emotions. So as you do get older, you're feeling some kind of way, you don't know what to look for. You don't know what to look for because we don't talk about getting help. We don't talk about our mental health in the Black community, in the ethnic community. So you're growing up, for the most part, disconnected from your health and disconnected from your emotions and disconnected from your identity. But the world is telling you who you are, how you're supposed to be, what is expected of you, but they never walked in your shoes.
Hmm.
And
And
that
I,
just made it harder. It was only until working in mental health did I figure out who I was, what I was about, what I was feeling. And it was only until, was it 2006, I believe, I come to find out that I had ADHD, depression, anxiety, and high blood pressure.
Mm,
and sickle cell.
mm,
Do not talk about our health. Oh, be all right. Be strong. You'll be all right. Listen. I know who I am. You ain't gotta tell me. I know who I am. If I got a problem, hey, I'll be all right. And we go up with that mentality. So I was able to really get help, to get help. And I'll say it again, to get help. Getting help, getting treatment, getting therapy doesn't make you any less of a man, doesn't make you any less of a person, does not view you as weak. You are not considered a pussy for
mm-hmm,
getting help. But we live in a day and age where our guard is up. And our guard is up because we don't trust anybody. So working on your mental health, even if you're not sure what you're feeling, you know what? Type it in Google, type in symptoms. At your employer, wherever you are, ask if they offer a EAP, Employee Assistance Program. I did, and we had a therapist there every week. I went for 4 months, every Friday after work. I went. I needed it, and it was very helpful. You know what? When you don't know how you feel, you don't know where to look, and when you don't know where to look, you're lost. You know what? And so I'll tell everyone, even my clients that I work with now, and even people that I socialize with online, on social media, I'll tell them from the get go, listen, look for support groups in your area, look for group chats on social media. I mean, you spend all that time on your phone anyway,
mm-hmm.
make the most of it. Look up mental health pages, look for, you know, pages that resonate with how you feel. If, go to CVS or Walgreens and ask questions. As a matter of fact, last time I went to CVS, I put my hand in that blood pressure cuff. Found out my blood pressure was through the roof.
Mm,
I advise everyone do the same thing. Make your mental health a top priority. And the older I get, I'm about to be 40. The older I get, the more that is taken into consideration, and the more I understand the value of your health and your mental health. And I tell everyone, you know what? Even going to the gym, change your diet. Even if you go to the gym twice a week or once a week, walk around the block, get that blood pumping, release those endorphins. Uh, do what you did not do yesterday.
mm.
You know what? Knowing where you've been depicts where you're going. And as a man, getting help is the next stage in manhood. That old saying, too much pride can kill a man. We put up these walls, these guards. Well, mm, how long will you keep doing the same thing? How long until you break the cycle? Or how long until you break the curse? Because as men, we remember what our dads told us, what our uncles told us, what the guy down the street told us. We remember what our mother told us. And the minute you show something, display an effect other than what they were expecting, well, I'll stop right
Yeah,
there.
you mentioned a lot, and several things came up for me as you were talking. One is the reality then, if 63% of Black men think that getting help for mental health issues is weakness, then that means 6 out of the 10 Black men that I know. And when I bring it back to the personal level and I'm thinking about the people in my life, like I'm
Yeah,
thinking about the conversations that we could be having in our own circles about mental health and about seeking help not being a weakness, because 63% is no small number. And that's
no,
also like not a number that we can distance ourselves from if we are serious about Black men's mental health, and lowering the rates of death by suicide in the Black community. And so that was one thing. The other thing that I'm thinking a lot about is imposter syndrome and the experience that people have when they feel like a fraud intellectually or otherwise. And how if we don't know, if we can't identify what we're feeling, if we have difficulty you know, sharing who we are in the spaces that we occupy. Like we are already occupying spaces where we are one of a few or one of only, particularly in career spaces. And even when we're in spaces of communities of color, and we are someone who is in tune with our emotions and who is willing to talk about mental health, but everybody else thinks that that's a problem and thinks that you're weak. I can just see the imposter experiences being nonstop. If we are Black men who are navigating toxic environments and feeling affected, but have no support, no way to get help that feels safe for us because of what other people are saying around us about how this is not safe or how you're weak.
Exactly. You are so right. You are so right. And it's so funny you mentioned that because there's a quote in my book that says, in my poetic memoir, Shake the Dust Off Your Soul, that stated, the hardest battles are fought behind closed doors and the stupidest ones are fought in public and
Mm,
on the internet. And that's what really made me write my poetic memoir and write my ebooks to help men to help men heal
mhm,
help men heal and overcome obstacles because you know what I always say that they're not ebooks, they're healing tools and resources. And I blinked and I realized there were 8 right there, you know, and I wanted to reach out. I want to give men an outlet to heal, to express, because women have what's that called, black girl magic. Men don't have that. Men suppress their emotion until it becomes a health problem, until it's, you know what, you don't get the attention, you don't get the help you need until you pretty much blow up and cause chaos. And that is so sad because sometimes by then it's too late.
mhm,
Because I really think about the men that have tried to reach out prior to that and got nothing.
mhm,
They got no help, they got no answers. So, upon suppressing their emotions and refusing to express them to themselves, you know what? Y'all don't want to help me? All right, then I got it. No, you good, you good. I'll need your help. If my ancestors can do it, so can I. And that's the mentality a lot of men are in. I got this. I don't need any help. They
mhm,
don't have anyone to talk to. So I encourage everyone to take their mentality, their mental health a top priority. You know, join support groups. You know, join group chats online where you can express yourself and vent and reach out and look in your community. There's free support groups, but on top of that too, when you're in pain, you look for an outlet, even if it's temporary. So guess what? That's where addiction comes in. You have addiction of cigarettes, you have alcohol, you have an addiction of drugs, video games, porn,
yeah,
and I
sex.
say that,
Mhm,
and sex, because that's an instant gratification, an instant relief. And you can walk into a liquor store right now and buy a beer with the split hair. You could walk into a convenience store and buy cigarettes, and they're numbing that pain, but that pain is still there. But when they come down off that sensation, they're right back where they started. So you have men that don't have an outlet of expression, so they're turning inward. And the more they turn inward, the harder it is to come out of that addiction and get help because they fear ridicule, they fear a disconnection, they fear embarrassment because when they tried to reach out in the past, they got nowhere, so they gave up.
yeah. I'd love to know how you got here, how you got to being a mental health advocate, how you got to your career of being, working inside institutions to support people with their mental health related needs.
You know what? It was funny you asked that because I was looking for a different career path one day, and a friend of mine referred a hospital. I was like, "Oh, I'm not a doctor. I'm no, 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 no. It's like a treatment center." You know what? And you just go in and you talk to people. And I said, oh, all right, I can do that. Not a problem. And I blinked. 3 years later, 3 months later, I was promoted supervisor. And I was shocked. I said, this is me. This is me. And I love to help people. And I love speaking, as you can see. I love to speak. And mental health became one that I can connect with. I mean, we often hear things like, you know, the student becomes the teacher, or the client becomes the doctor. Because it's only until you've been on both sides of the fence can you really appreciate the value of treatment. And before I knew it, I was conducting group sessions. I was working in pediatrics. I was supervising 4 different units at once, and I was training from 8 to 4. And then I was on the floor from 4:30 to midnight, and I did this 3, 4, 5 days a week. But it takes a toll on you. So sometimes you have to step back from what you love to do and take a breathing room, because if you are not in a good state yourself, how can you help someone else? So sometimes when you love what you do, it can have a hard effect on you. So and for the most part, knowledge is half the battle. The other half is knowing where you're going, because there are people that depend on you.
Yeah.
And I wrote during the pandemic. That's when, even then our work was limited, because they weren't, no one knew what was going on. So bam, 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 doors were closed, units were locked, and we had staff members that could not leave for a week straight. Their families had to drop their clothes and food and medications off. The doctor said, if you walk out that door, you're fired.
Mm.
I kid you not. I kid you not.
Wow.
That's what I said. We were shocked. So I had that time to write. I had that time to convey and explore and order my emotions and gather my thoughts and come to terms with, my mental health. And this was around the time that the George Floyd slaughter took place.
Right.
And that just took my anxiety through the roof. And they were protesters not far from my house. And my friends were, hey, come on, let's go protest. I'll meet you there. I said, I can't do that. I can't do that. And to make matters worse, my anxiety was through the roof, and I ran out of my medication for about 3 weeks, and I was stuck inside. So I had that time to really lose it, but also find it. I had time to find it and really gather the ins and outs, the good, the bad, the up and down of my mental health, and that world that I saw outside that Black men are dealing with. And I know how they feel. I know what led to that situation. I know why Black men are not angry. Black men are fed up. They're reaching out and no one's reaching back. The law has showed where they stand over the years and how they view us. Because when your skin is a weapon, you're always a target. But when you don't get the treatment you need, you will always, always, always be disconnected, especially when you don't know who you are, because you're taught to suppress your emotions. So how can you heal if you don't know how you feel, when society has a stigma about you and is setting you up for failure?
Yeah. I mean, it feels like a trap.
It really is. So it's only until we figure out how we feel can we get the full extent of the treatment we need. So I tell everyone, talk to your employer and talk to HR and see if they offer an employee assistance program. Go to CVS, put your arm in the cuff, check your blood pressure, keep a log. every day, write something every day,
Yeah.
join support groups, go to the gym, get get fit, release those endorphins, get counseling. There's even a website called, was it RX, where they have medication where you can get a severe discount.
Oh yeah. What I think it's Good RX. Is it Good RX?
That's the
Yeah.
one. That's the
Yep.
one.
I've used that.
That's the one. And when I wrote the book, actually, this is my baby,
Hmm.
my baby, Shake This Off Your Soul. I wrote that with them in mind, and I wrote this book giving you the relief, giving you the breath of fresh air you did not know you needed.
Mm.
And as Black men, well, as men in general, you know, when you feel like no one is listening, why should you speak? Because
Yeah.
when I try talking to you, you pretty much, hey, you're not what I seek.
Yeah.
So I tell everyone, men, hang in there. It gets easier. It gets easier. Don't give up. And this is something that I actually live by, and I live by this every single day. Give your all to the day you die, and no one will ever say you did not try. I live
I
by it.
appreciate your sharing, some of the tips as far as the different things that Black men can do to address their mental health needs. One resource that I used a lot when I was a W-2 employee was the Employee Assistance Program. Most most people who are W-2 employees do have an employee benefit called an EAP. If you're a lawyer, sometimes the bar associations may have what are called lawyers assistance programs.
Mhm.
There are other programs within specific professions that offer you a variety of services. So I've done both counseling, therapy, like I've been connected to therapists. In fact, my current therapist was a connection that was made through the EAP program that I just continued. And so for me, it was like you start out with 3 free sessions.
Yeah,
And it's not relying on your insurance, so you can see people who are out of network. And it's like 3 free sessions per issue, per year. And I've also benefited from career coaching. That
yeah,
was a benefit of my employer. It wasn't attached to the EAP, but it was like a separate, because sometimes employers will have other stuff. And that was extremely helpful and like helping me to determine what my career path needed to be and the changes that I needed to make, or even the type of environment that I was looking for in my work. And so I wonder, if you have other suggestions as far as how people can use the resources that are available at work and or set boundaries at work to be able to protect their mental health, like taking a mental health day, or using your insurance for addiction and recovery treatment or detox, that type of thing.
absolutely. You know what? I would definitely check with your supervisor or your director, or even go as far as HR, because a lot of these programs that are offered, they don't broadcast. They don't broadcast. They're covered. Some of them are covered by your insurance, and some of them are covered independently. But you have to ask for them. You have to ask them. Hey, do you have any pamphlets? Do you have anything I need? Or even, is there a 1-800 number I can call? Listen. Hey, I gotta tell you something. I'm having some anxiety. You know what? And I've had to do that, especially working in the medical and psych field. It can be overwhelming. We've had people go on their lunch break and not come back. We've had people show up and say, "Take me off the schedule immediately." And people would show up 10 minutes into their shift and leave. So, if you have to take that break every month, if you have to call out, uh, or have someone cover your shift, or swipe shifts with somebody, or tell the person that's doing that's the scheduling, hey, listen, Um, I'm starting a group session program for my mental health. So I need this day off every month. Don't schedule me this day. I mean, I've had to do that. I've had to take a day off a month, 2 days off a month for my mental health because, the pressure was getting to me. I was working 55, 62 hours a week, and that's a lot of pressure. And then you have your life outside of family, outside of work. You have your family, you have, hey, your kids' football game, your daughter's cheerleading practice, hey, your daughter's giving a recital, she's in band, and mommy's working. Now mommy wants to be there and she's stressed out. And unfortunately, she takes that to work the next day because she's upset because she had to work. So if you feel like you have to take a day off, by all means, or even if you had to cut back and readjust your schedule to 4 days a week instead of I know these days it is not easy because it takes 2, 3 paychecks just to make ends meet. I get that. But if there are no boundaries, what boundaries are there? Because as long as you say yes to these overtime shifts, yada, 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 they're going to keep offering to you. And your emotional feelings, get put on the back burner. You're losing sleep. You're burnt out. You have errands to run after work. Oh, I'm supposed to be off at 4:30. Now I'm off at 6:30. Oh, the post office is closed. I meant to pick us up for dinner. Oh, I forgot to go by the cleaners. Oh, shoot, she gonna kill me. Oh, wait a minute, it's Thursday. Oh man, he had that practice. I was supposed to pick up him and his friends. And it happens every single day. We get bombarded, we get overwhelmed, and we pay for it, and our emotional health suffers. So if you have to rearrange your schedule or even change your job, as difficult as that may be, you'll be surprised with other departments your job offers. Because I gotta tell you something, I caught COVID twice last summer. I caught COVID twice in the same month. And I was working mental health pediatrics. And I was no good for the field. And I was already having anxiety and depression while at work. So with COVID, I had a bit of clarity and time to think and reprocess and rethink my next step. So this time around, I switched jobs, I switched environments. I make my own schedule. I have my clients that I work with a few times a day, and I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
Sometimes less is best, but we live in a society that tells us more is better.
Yeah.
And we take these extra shifts, we take these jobs, we take these offers because they're offering it to us. But at the same time, we take them now because they won't offer it to us next time. And when you need it, they don't offer you anything.
Yeah.
They don't offer you nothing. COVID gave me the clarity and the perspective I did not know I needed. I was laying up in bed for weeks, weeks. So it was kind of a blessing and a curse, a blessing and a lesson. So I want Black men to know, I want all men to know that it's okay to put yourself and to put your health first, even if that means taking a step back, having to cut back, you know, take an extra day off or two a month because you don't want to bring that calamity to the workforce and it costs you your job. And
Yeah.
to men that suppress and don't express, they have enough weight on their shoulders. So don't look at your health, you know, as an obstacle. Don't look at
Yeah.
it as an obstacle. Look at it as, okay, this is happening. How do I treat it? What do I do? What am I feeling? I think, let me look up these symptoms now. My head is hurting, my fingers are tingling, my heart's pumping. What do I have? Put those symptoms in Google. I mean, we're on our phones all the time anyway. Let's make the most of it.
Yeah.
Let's ask questions. Don't view asking questions as don't view getting help and asking questions as getting limited or becoming a weakness because we hear I've heard a female tell me one day, what is it with men and asking for questions, asking for direction? What is it? Well, I was told not to ask questions. I was told that real men are real men. Real men will never ever be a real man if he asks for questions. If he doesn't do this, he doesn't do that. So don't take it personally if I don't ask for your assistance.
Yeah.
And that's the world we live in, and it hurts me because I saw a boy crying one day, and I asked him, "What is wrong?" He said, "Everything." I said, "What happened?" Like I in a fight in school. Okay, tell you what. Why don't you sit down and tell me all about it? I'm not going to interrupt you. I won't try to be your parent,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll listen. You speak, and I'll listen. Tell me what's wrong. And you know what? I tell you what I'll do. Why don't you write out how you feel? And we'll go through each question one by one. Or, well, hey, I drew circles on a paper. So, how do you feel today? So, do you think, do you feel, what made you think this? What made you feel like that? When you did this, did you feel better? When you said this, how do you feel now? And I would ask questions and go
Yeah.
down the list because with children, you have a chance to catch it.
Mm-hmm.
You have a chance to do something about it, even with teenagers. And when working with teenagers, the one thing that I realized is everything starts at home. Because once they walk out that door, they put on a shield, they put
Mm-hmm.
on a mask. No, I'm good, and they don't express themselves. They're watching and seeing what they do on television.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And they're trying to
So,
fit in or do whatever it is. Um, so
and
a couple.
let me just say this real quick, while
Mm-hmm.
it's fresh in my mind. We buy things we don't need for a life we don't have to impress people we do not like for a world we are trying to fit in. But why fit in when you're meant to stand out? You don't know that person's struggle, but you like this and this, and you're taking on that calamity. You're taking on that personality, those affliction, those characters. Instead of staying who you are, being who you are. You're taking on someone else's character and mentality and behavior and clothes. You don't know their struggle. What's in your cup is for you. Be yourself. The world already has an opinion about you.
Right.
Why are you trying to fit in when you should be standing out? I just want to just get that out before I
Yes.
off
Thank
my thought.
you. One of the things, well, I have many thoughts about all that you shared, but I know that people listening are thinking to themselves, maybe I don't have the luxury of taking time off from work. Or I don't want to have a conversation with my supervisor about what I'm experiencing because I don't trust my supervisor. Or what about retaliation? I know that huge numbers of people do not take all of their paid time off because they're concerned about basically being passed over or being retaliated against at work. And so I think it's worth mentioning that to some extent, and I'll speak for myself, I think that taking time off is a luxury that not everyone can take, or they don't feel like they can take, or maybe there are financial considerations which prevent them from being able to do these things. And so I'll say that, at some point, if you are somebody that's dealing with mental dis-ease, that there will be a breaking point where you can't go any further. And maybe the lesson is that we just need to get to that breaking point. Um, as painful as that can be, and that's fine. But I'll also say that there are laws in place to protect people from retaliation, to allow you to be able to take the time that you might need under the Americans with Disabilities Act if you're somebody that has a diagnosis.
Exactly.
Your workplace may have other, accommodations that would be available to you. And sometimes the language that we need to use is actually requesting an accommodation.
It really
Um,
is. You were
mhm.
so you were so right. You were so right on that one. There's always someone that knows something that can help us, but we don't know where to look. But if we ask, if we listen, you'd be surprised if just have them point you in the right direction.
Yep.
We can't do anything ourselves. And I say that speaking from my own, you know what, sometimes we do need help, sometimes we do need assistance. So when you meet someone that's going through affliction, even if you're not sure, just ask them, hey, are you okay? Hey, I don't mean to overstep, but with no disrespect. I know you might say I'm fine, because I've been there myself, but I saw you when you walked in. I just wanted to ask you, are you okay?
Mm-hmm.
I know we ain't cool like that. I know I don't know you like that, but I just wanted to ask you, are you okay? Because I have depression. I have my bad days too. And you know what? We wish someone reached out to us when we need help, when
Mm-hmm.
we were going through something. So we need to lead by example and
Yep.
extend that, because that very person we're reaching out to, we never know what they're going through.
Yeah.
And sometimes we don't like talking to people, engaging. Hey, that's him. He'll be all right, man. But if you ask, if you just show him, hey, someone's paying attention, someone's listening, someone's watching. I'm not spying on you. I want to know, how are you? Lend a hand and pay it forward. It's the
Right.
hardest thing in the world to do, but it needs to be done.
Right. So, and we're gonna have on this show in season 3 a mini series specifically on legal protections for people navigating disabilities, not just mental health, but also physical disabilities. And we're gonna be getting into Americans with Disabilities Act because it is scary. It's scary to put yourself out there as someone who needs an accommodation or who needs, and we don't even want to think of it as an accommodation because, again, we don't want to think of ourselves as being weak.
Correct.
Um, but legally, that's the term that's used is an accommodation when we need something to be a little bit different in order to help us thrive in the workplace. I've had stuff when I was pregnant, actually. I had a hard time staying awake when I was driving long distances. So this isn't a mental health thing, but I've asked for accommodation of like, I can't drive for work long distances during this period of my life because I might fall asleep and crash. So I'm going to need you to take me off the road. And at that time, I was a traveling lawyer, essentially. So there's a lot that we can do when we do have needs that may prevent us from being able to thrive in our workplaces. And it's so important that we educate ourselves on what our rights are, um, and if we're comfortable, use those laws and those protections.
Correct. And you know what? Those laws and protections are there for a reason. They're not there. They're not there for nothing. You don't want to be in a situation at work where it becomes unsafe, where you get hurt or someone else gets hurt, and now the company's held responsible. If you can be proactive rather than reactive, you never know how your employer will respond. They could have the very thing you need, but you have to ask for it.
Yeah, and I think I'll end with this is that it's so important. One of the things that we can do that is in our control, like we can't control how other people react to us trying to have boundaries, but we can control the supportive community that we roll with, right? Like we can control who we associate with. We can control who we reach out to for help. We can decide whether or not to let people in and to establish relationships that can be supportive. And so I'll say for me, it's been so important to have my sister circle who are, my close group of friends who I go to really before and after. I need to set some type of boundary at work because one, I usually need to check it by somebody else to make sure that like I'm not crazy, that I
Yeah,
need this. But then, sometimes it does go poorly. Like that is a thing that happens. It's not like every time you say something, it'll go well. Like that would be the perfect world, but that is not the world that we live in. So sometimes you might be vulnerable in the workplace in terms of expressing your needs and communicating your needs. And they'll throw all sorts of stuff at you. Like that's when you in a real toxic place, they'll throw all sorts of stuff at you. And so it's so important that whether it goes well, whether it goes poorly, whether it was expected or not, that we have people outside of the workplace, or in the workplace who we can rely on as confidants and for support. Because at the end of the day, we live in a capitalist society and most of our employers really just view us as labor.
Exactly. You're
So,
so right. And I would, and it's funny you mentioned that because you know what? I have a friend that I speak to that we speak online, and he does the same type of work that I do. So when I say something, he already knows what I'm talking about. But you know what? You need that time, that space, that opportunity to speak, to vent, to express, to let it out. You don't want to suppress all that emotion because when it starts to affect your health, that's when it becomes a problem. So now you have your mental health and your physical health, and now you're getting it from both sides.
mm-hmm,
You know
mm-hmm,
what? And now you're sleeping less. Now you're eating more. Now you know, you're smoking more if you do smoke, or you're drinking more. So finding that healthy expression of outlet is everything. And I tell everyone, we all need a safe space. So
mm-hmm.
look in your community, look where you can find free support groups, find online chat rooms, that you feel comfortable with, that you can really express yourself. You know, two people can get more done in a room of 100. So
Yeah,
even if you need that one person to talk to, whether it be a friend or family, a coworker, wherever you feel that comfortable, where you're allowed to be vulnerable, that's where your access is.
yeah. Well, thank you so much for this conversation today, Brock. Can
You're
you
so
share with
welcome.
us where we can find you?
And you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. My name is Millennial Expose, MilleniaXposc. Also, check us out online on millennialexpose.com.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. And then, of course, your book, right? Do you want to plug your book?
Yes. Check the Dust Off Your Soul. It's the poetic memoir. And you could also find, resources where you can find help for Black men. My other ebook resource books that can help you, with loving yourself and healing your life and overcoming obstacles. And above all, being happy because life is a journey. Life is best when you're a part of it, and it's even better when you're in control of it. So at Millennial Expose, this is what we do is helping men heal and overcome obstacles.
Awesome. And final question, what is the mantra or affirmation that you've been relying on during this season in your life?
Uh, Actually, I have two.
Okay.
You're doing your best and you made it this far. Now your real dreams can start.
Mm,
You're all to the day you die, and no one will ever say you did not try.
mm,
You know,
awesome.
I live by I'm telling you, I live by those. I'm telling you.
Great. That's great. Thank you so, so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And I hope to hear more from you in the future.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks so much for joining me for this conversation. I hope that you got as much out of it as I did. Feel free to continue the conversation with us over on Facebook at the Impostrix Podcast Validating Space. We welcome all, and it's a space for us to validate each other as we work through work, race, and imposter syndrome. You can find out more about me or about the podcast at www.impostrixpodcast.com. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Impostrix Podcast. Until next time, be validated.